La ilaha. Keep in mind, brothers who are still performing their salah, if you gather closely, inshallah. La ilaha illallah. Astaghfirullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, wahdu wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da amma ba'd. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, upon the instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, started to give da'wah openly. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam openly started to call towards Islam. And as previously mentioned, that initially Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood upon the mountain and called everybody, instructed everybody. And thereafter Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam continued his da'wah. Through the da'wah, the efforts of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, slowly the numbers of Muslims started to increase. And a person needs to understand that in da'wah there are two aspects. One is amr bil ma'ruf and the other is nahi anil munkar. Amr bil ma'ruf means to call people and to tell people to do the good. And nahi anil ma'ruf is to prevent them and to stop them from doing wrong. And these are the two components of da'wah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would go out and he would not only tell the people to believe in Allah or tell the people to perform salat, etc. But rather, both of these components combined was the da'wah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where he would instruct people on what to do and he will tell them whether they were doing wrong as well. Now when you tell somebody to do something, then they listen to you. And whether they do it or not, that's up to them, but they listen to you. But when you start telling them the wrong things what they are doing, when you start telling the people that don't do this, that's a bit difficult to digest. You tell everybody perform salat, Allah will give you Jannah. You tell everybody, spend in charity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase. And you tell everybody, then these are like feel happy, instructions. You tell people that you're not performing salat, this will happen. You not being particular in regards to interaction with the opposite genders. You're not doing this correctly. You're not doing this correctly. You need to ensure that you're doing this because this is wrong. This is wrong. This particular thing which you are carrying out is wrong. Then they start arguing. And they say, who are you to tell us that we're doing this wrong? Who are you to tell us that we're doing wrong? Who are you to tell us that we're doing wrong? So Amr bil Ma'ruf is fine. Everybody can digest that. But when it comes to Nahi anil Munkar, then it's difficult to digest. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, not only did he just say that perform salat, etc., but he would say that what you are doing in terms of worshipping this idol, this idol, that's wrong. You and your forefathers are on the wrong. You and your forefathers are sacrificing animals in the name of Lat, Uzza, Hubal, etc. This is all wrong. Now this they couldn't tolerate. And they tell Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they come to Abu Talib, etc., and they say, look, that's fine, if you want to do what you want to do, that's fine, but don't stop it from what we're doing. If you want to carry on doing it, that's fine, but don't stop it from what we're doing. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's mission was to call in people and to inform the people about they're doing wrong. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam continued his da'wah, and this they were unable to tolerate. And then they got together and they decided that, look, we need to go to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Obviously he's not listening, so we need to go to Abu Talib. Because Abu Talib, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was a pillar for Rasulullah. And he was always by the side of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had morally supporting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they said, let us go to Abu Talib. Because Abu Talib was a very well respectable individual within the Quraysh, and specifically amongst the Banu Hashim. So they were unable to oppose Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were unable to harm Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because of Abu Talib. His support was there. So they said, look, let us go to Abu Talib and let us tell him that, have a word with your nephew. Have a word with your nephew. So this is what happened, sometimes, the Imam is saying something, so then they'll go, people don't like it, they'll go to the committee and say, have a word with him. Or they'll go to the father of the Imam and say, okay, he needs to take it easy, he's saying things which, a bit controversial and things like this. So they went to Abu Talib. They came to Abu Talib and they said, Abu Talib, look, إِنَّ ابْنَ أَخِيكَ هَذَا قَدْ آذَانَ فِينَا دِينَ. He says, he's just not letting us at peace. Constantly harassing us, constantly objecting against everything we do. So, just stop him. فَنْهَهُ عَنْهُ. So just tell him to stop. Don't, tell him to just leave us. If he wants to do whatever he wants to do, that's fine. But don't come to us, don't harass us, don't speak out against us. So Abu Talib gathered everybody. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was also there. And then they came and they proposed again to Abu Talib that this is what's happening. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at his uncle. His uncle looked at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And his uncle didn't say it explicitly, but his uncle is indicating from his expression, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam understood that his uncle is saying that, don't put me in a difficult situation. You've got Walid here, you've got Abu Jahl here, you've got Utbah here. These are the cream of Quraysh, and they put me in a position now. And this telling basically that, don't side with him, stop him, otherwise, our relationship will come under a bit of strain. So Abu Talib looked at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this manner. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at his uncle, and he says, Ya ammi, O my uncle, لو وضعوا الشمس في يميني والقمر في يساري ألا أن أترك هذا الدين حتى يظهره الله أو أهلك ما تركته. He says, oh my uncle, if they were to put the sun in my right hand, or if they were to put the moon in my left hand, and they tell me to stop propagating the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I will not stop until the deen of Allah overcomes all obstacles and spreads throughout the globe, or I have to give my life for it. So either you're with me or you're not, I don't mind, but I am not going to stop. And in another narration he says that, Wallahi, he says that, by Allah, ma ana bi aqdara an ada'a dhalika min an yash'ala ahadun min hadha ash-shams shu'latan min nar. He says that the same way you are unable to take light directly and light your candle from the sun, in the same way I am unable to stop propagating this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no chance I'm going to stop. There's no chance. Hazrat Mawlana Idris Kandalwi rahmatullah alayhi has made a very subtle point here. And he says the wording used by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in terms of the sun, the moon, and he says that this is an indication towards the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the deen of Allah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, that يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. That they wish to extinguish the light of Allah, but they are unable to extinguish the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ensure that His light continues to burn. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was saying that this is a light of Allah. You don't have any control over the sun. You can't even get to the light of the sun, and you can't even overpower the sun. You can't even put the sun in my right hand. How are you going to take this light from me, which is the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to spread throughout the globe? There's no chance you're going to extinguish this light. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started to weep. Upon hearing these words, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started to weep. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, thinking that his uncle now is leaving him, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started to walk away. And when he started to walk away, his uncle called out and said, Yabna akhi. He says, oh my nephew. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned back towards him. And he said, Idha, go continue. Wallahi la usallimuka ilayhim. By Allah, I will never hand you over to them. I will never hand you over to them. So they went away completely, without anything which they were hoping for. Thereafter they went, they sat down again and said, what shall we do? What shall we do? So then they came up with another plan. They come up with another plan, and they came another time with an individual called Umarat ibn al-Walid. So Walid ibn al-Mughira, who was the leader of the Quraysh, the father of Khalid. They came with his son Umara. And they brought Umara to Abu Talib. And they said to Abu Talib, Ya Abu Talib, هذه عمارة بن الوليد أنهد فتى في قريش وأجملها فخذه فلك عقله ونصره واتخذه ولدا فهو لك. He says, this is Umara, the most intelligent, the most handsome, and the most respected and honored. He is the child of Walid. He says, you take him. He is your son. You adopt him. You take him. And give us Muhammad. وَأَسْلِمْ إِلَيْنَا ibn أَخِيكَ. He says, he is opposing the deen. He is a headache for you. You give him. And then he says that فَلْنَقْتُلْهُ, and you keep this one as a child, and we'll take this one and we'll deal with him. We'll kill him. إِنَّمَا هُوَ رَجُلٌ بِرَجُلٍ. You take this life, we've given you another one. Like for like. So when Abu Talib heard this, he says, what are you guys talking about? He says, do you have any understanding? No chance. My nephew, Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, for Umara, there's no way I'm going to hand him over. And then I'll hand him over, you kill him, and then I look after your child. How does that make sense? There's no chance I'm going to hand him over. So he said no. And he went against. So now all the rest of the Quraysh united. And Abu Talib then spoke with Banu Hashim and Banu Abdul Muttalib. Banu Abdul Muttalib and Banu Hashim, the overarching. And he told them that, look, we need to stay as a unit. We are one family, and they are trying to harm us, they are trying to oppress us, they are trying to, take away an individual from our family. So we need to remain united. So because Abu Talib was respected, the whole of the Banu Hashim tribe, Muslim, non-Muslims alike, they all united. And they all said, we're with you, Abu Talib, don't worry. We won't let any harm come to you. We'll make sure that they don't try to kill or assassinate Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muslims, non-Muslims alike. Only Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, who was from this family, he sided with the rest of the Quraysh. He says, I'm not going to be with you lot, I'm with them. So Abu Lahab moved away. The rest of the Banu Hashim stayed with Abu Talib and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Abu Talib became very, very happy at this. And Abu Talib would then say many, many ash'ar and great poetry in praise of his family members and how they supported him, and at the same time he would make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek protection of the haram and the Kaaba and of the lands of the haram, that I seek protection from the shurur of these individuals. And then he would call them out one by one as well in the ash'ar, that oh Mut'im, you are like this, and oh Utbah, you are like this, and you are respectable individuals, but look how you are dealing with your own family members, etc., etc. He would call them out, and there's these ash'ar which Ibn Hisham rahimahullah ta'ala has mentioned in his Seearah. But nevertheless, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had the support of his uncle, and he had the support of his family, extended family as well. Now they realize that look, there's problems. And it so happened that the time of Hajj was approaching. So because the time of Hajj was approaching, and now people outside of the Makkah Mukarramah now, from throughout the Hijaz, throughout Arabia, people would now come to perform the Hajj. The Mawsam, the season had arrived. So Makkah Mukarramah was the center. So they knew that the words and the vibes are out there. They knew that people are talking that there's an individual who's claiming prophethood. There's an individual who's calling people towards Islam. There's an individual who's speaking out against our deen of our forefathers, our religion, etc. So they now decided amongst themselves that we need to do something. So Walid ibn al-Mughira, the ringleader, the chief of Quraysh, he gathered the people of Quraysh and he said, look, the Mawsim is here. The season of Hajj is here. What shall we do? What shall we do? يا معشر قريش إنه قد حضر الموسم وإن وفود العرب سيقدموا عليكم وقد سمعوا بأمر صاحبكم هذا فاجمعوا فيه رأيا واحدا. He says, let us come to one opinion. Let us come to one narrative. Let us all sing from the same hymn sheet. لا تختلفوا. Let us not say, oh, will somebody say this and somebody say this, and so then people will be confused. I thought he was this. I thought he was like this. I thought he was like that. Let us all say the same thing so everybody gets the same message. Propaganda. And they knew that this is the season. They did not just general propaganda. They knew this is an opportunity for propaganda. And this is how the narrative works. Whenever there's an opportunity to give propaganda, they use it. Whenever a thing immediately headlines, serializing this, that, everywhere you'll see it splashed out all over the news, all over the websites, everything, all on the same narrative. Because this is an opportunity. Everybody's understanding, everybody's focused towards one particular event. So let us link everything now towards this. So this is what they saw, that look, this is now the time for making propaganda against Islam and the Muslims. So they gathered. And they said, أنت أبا الشمس قل وأقم لنا رأيا نقول به. He says, you are our leader. You come to a decision. You tell us what shall we say. You're the most intelligent from us. So he says, no, you give your mashwara. Let's see. He says, no, give mashwara. فأنتم قولوا اسمع. Speak, I'm listening. So they started saying, they said that, let's say he's a kahin, a sorcerer. So he said, we can't. ما هو بكاهن. We can't say a sorcerer. لقد رأيت الكهان. I've seen people who's in sorcery. فما هو بزمزمة الكاهن ولا سجعه. The things which they do, the spells, etc. That isn't it. She says, okay. So kahin is like a fortune teller. This is a fortune teller. Says, no, because they get, they get jinns coming to them. They start saying things. We can't say that. She says, okay. Any other opinions? She says, majnoon. So let's say he's insane. He's mad. He's a madman. He's lost the plot. He's just going around saying things. He says, look at Rain al-Junoon. This is, we all know what an insane person behaves like. فَمَا هُوَ بِخَنْقِهِ وَلَا تَخَالُجِهِ وَلَا وَسْوَسَتِهِ. He says, there's not a single bit of junoon and insanity within him. We can't say that. He says, what shall we say? Says Sha'ir. So he says he's a poet. And his all is just poetry that he's making, the Quran, etc. So he says, no, ma huwa bi Sha'ir. He's not a poet, because we know how poetry is composed, the rhythms, the syllables, etc. No, we can't go with that either. So he says, Sahir, let's say he's a magician. He's, putting spells on people. So he says, Ra'ina as-suhar, فَمَا هُوَ بِنَفْسِهِمْ وَلَا عَقْدِهِم. He says he's not doing any spells, he's not got any, strings that he's tying and blowing on and things like this. We can't even say that. So he says, فَمَا نَقُولُ. What shall we say then? So he put his head down. And then he said, Wallahi, by Allah, inna liqawlihi lahalawa. What he says is extremely sweet. وَإِنَّ أَصْلَهُ لَعَذَكٌ وَإِنَّ فَرَعُهُ لَجَنَاتٌ. He says, the roots of his da'wah are very firm and strong. And the fruits are there for everybody to see as well. وَمَا أَنْتُمْ بِقَائِلِينَ مِنْ هَذَا شَيْءٍ إِلَّا عُرِفَ أَنَّهُ بَاطِلٌ. He says, whatever we say, everybody will immediately understand that doesn't make sense and it's wrong. But then he thought for a while. And then after a while he put his head up. Then he thought again. Then he put his head up. And then he said, the best thing we can go with is to say that he's a magician. And through his magic, through his spells, he's creating disunity between father and son, between husband and wife, between families. He's causing ikhtilaf. He's breaking up families and he's speaking out. So that's the best thing we can do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon this revealed the verses of Surah Muddathir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that ذَرْنِي وَمَنْ خَلَقْتُ وَحِيدًا. Says, leave me and that person who I created alone. Now Walid, as I said, was the leader of the Quraysh. He was very, very, very wealthy, filthy rich. From Makkah Mukarramah all the way to Taif, he had orchards which would give fruits, dates, etc. He had children, and these children, he had a number of children, I think 10, and they were all obedient to him, subservient to him. And he wouldn't have to do everything. He'll just click his fingers and out of him, people there, working for him, everything. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that dharni, let him be, leave him. I'll deal with him now. Dharni wa man khalaqtu wahida. Leave me and that guy who I created whilst he was alone. He didn't have anything. وَجَعَلْتُ لَهُ مَالًا مَمْدُودًا. And I granted him immense wealth. وَبَنِينَ شُهُودًا. And children who are constantly with him in his presence. وَمَهَدْتُ لَهُ تَمْهِيدًا. And I granted him much more as well. ثُمَّ يَطْمَعُ عَنْ أَزِيدٍ. And he even desires more than this. Allah then says, Kalla, never, never. He desires more, he's never going to get more. And the Mufassirun and the ulama say that from that moment, his wealth started to decrease. From that moment now, his wealth started to decrease. He says, ثُمَّ يَطْمَعُ عَنْ أَزِيدٍ. He wants more? Kalla. No. إِنَّهُ كَانَ لِآيَاتِنَا عَنِيدًا. He's not accepting our ayat. سَأُرْهِقُهُ سَعُودًا. He's going to give him a very severe punishment in the hereafter. We'll make him climb mountains in the fire of Jahannam. إِنَّهُ فَكَّرَ, right? إِنَّهُ فَكَّرَ. He thought. وَقَدَّرَ. And he's trying to conjure up things. فَقُتِلَ. Woe be to him. May he perish. كَيْفَ قَدَّرَ. How can he think and conjure up things? ثُمَّ قُتِلَ. May he be destroyed. كَيْفَ قَدَّرَ. How can he do this? ثُمَّ نَظَرَ. Then he looked. So he was thinking, then he looked. ثُمَّ عَبَسَ وَبَسَرَ. Then he changed his facial expression. He felt like, I don't know, what shall we say? ثُمَّ عَبَسَ وَبَسَرَ ثُمَّ أَدْبَرَ وَاسْتَكْبَرَ. Then he turned away and in pride and arrogance, فَقَالَ إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا سِحْرٌ يُؤْثَرٌ. He says, this is magic. This is magic which is having an effect. In هذا إلا قول البشر. This is just a word of an individual. سأصليه سقر وما أدراك ما سقر. These ayat were revealed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then went and slowly he started to decrease in his wealth. So nevertheless, they came with this. When the Muslim came, the people would say that I would be walking in the land, the plains of Mina, and there'd be a person saying, Ya ayyuhan nas, qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu. That, oh people, say la ilaha illallah, you will be successful. And then there'll be somebody else behind him, and he'll be walking behind him, and he would say, don't listen to this person, he's not mentally stable, he's doing magic, and he's going to destroy you, he's going to destroy your family. So I asked, who is this people? So they said, this is the person who's claimed Nubuwwah, and that is his uncle Abu Lahab, and he's speaking out against him. And this is how they initially started the mission against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Islam continued to spread. People continued to come into the fold of Islam, and then they started exerting more aggression against the Muslims. Inshallah, we shall continue that tomorrow. Next week, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the correct understanding, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand the sacrifices which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave and the Sahaba kiram radiyallahu ta'ala anhum for preserving the deen and for propagating the deen to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them on our behalf. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Sallallahu ta'ala khayr khalq Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. سلام على المرسلين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد وانزل المقعد المقرب عند الله رب هذه الدعوه القائمه والصلاه النافعه. صل على محمد وارض عني رضا الله رزقه بعده ابدا. اللهم صل على محمد عبده ورسوله وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد وبارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد وارحم محمد وعلى محمد كما صليت وباركت ورحمت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وأزواجه وذريته كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أزواجه وذريته كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى أزواجه وذريته كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد النبي وأزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وذريته وأهل بيته كما صليت على آل إبراهيم كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما ترحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما ترحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم تحنن على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما تحننت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم سلم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما سلمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم على محمد وعلى آل محمد وارحم محمد وعلى محمد كما صليت وباركت وترحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وبارك على محمد النبي الأمي كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد صلاة تكون لك رضا ولا جزاء لحق أداء وأعطي الوسيلة والفضيل والمقام المحمود الذي وعدته وجزيه عنا ما وأهل وجزيه أفضل ما جازيت نبيا قومي ورسولا أمتي وصل على جميع إخواني من النبيين والصالحين يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل علينا معهم اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى أهل بيته كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك علينا معهم صلوات الله وصلوات المؤمنين على محمد النبي الأمي اللهم اجعل صلواتك ورحمتك وبركاتك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما جعلت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وصلى الله على النبي الأمي التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات والسلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته والسلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله التحيات الطيبات والصلوات لله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته والسلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله التحيات لله الطيبات والصلوات لله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته والسلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله التحيات المباركة والصلوات الطيبات لله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته والسلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بسم الله بالله التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وأسأل الله الجنة وأعوذ بالله من النار تحيات الله الزاكيات لله الطيبات الصلوات الله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بسم الله بالله خير اسماء التحيات الطيبات الصلوات لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وأرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وأن الساعة آتية لا ريب فيها السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين اللهم اغفر لي واهدني التحيات الطيبات والصلوات وملك الله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته بسم الله التحيات لله الصلوات لله الزاكيات لله السلام على النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين شهدت أن لا إله إلا الله شهدت أن محمد رسول الله التحيات الطيبات الصلوات الزاكيات لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمد عبده ورسوله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين التحيات الطيبات الصلوات الزاكيات لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد عبد الله ورسوله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين التحيات الصلوات لله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين التحيات لله الصلوات الطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله التحيات المباركات الصلوات الطيبات لله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله بسم الله والسلام على رسول الله يا رب صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن